Of all the parkour basics, the roll is perhaps the most important and difficult to master. In order to get a painless, comfortable roll on concrete from height, it will take a lot of practice and experimentation. Rolls are used to dissipate landing forces and are essential to longevity in the discipline. Rolling is also the foundation of ukemi and will make your practice safer. The first thing you need to understand is that the parkour roll is not a gymnastics roll. That's the last one, man. I can't do it again. The parkour roll is also not a barrel roll. So the gymnastics roll takes you straight down your spine. This leaves your head and your neck very vulnerable, and if you round your back, you can feel all the vertebrae that will potentially strike the concrete, as well as your tailbone, PSIS. The barrel roll, for similar reasons, has a lot of extra strike points that will make it dangerous, as well as just far less efficient. Now, if the gymnastics roll goes straight down your spine, and the barrel roll is on the horizontal plane, the parkour roll exists just between the two. We're going to be going across the spine. We start on the upper back, behind one of our shoulders, and we roll to the opposite hip, here. For this progression, you want to find a soft surface like grass to train on. Also, one of the only injuries that can take place during this phase is landing on the top of the shoulder, which could separate your AC joint and even break your collarbone. In order to avoid this risk, we're going to start with the shoulder already placed on the ground. From here, I'm going to extend the opposite leg of the shoulder that's on the ground. I'm also going to thread through that same side arm as the shoulder that's on the ground, pointing my hand towards my extended foot. Then I'm going to tuck my chin into the opposite armpit of the shoulder that's on the ground. From here, I can just push with my feet and keep my back round as I focus on going across my spine. As a self-check, make sure you're on the opposite hip of the shoulder you started on. Practice that on both sides, and then once you're satisfied, come back for some more details. Now that you know what it feels like to roll across your spine, let's address what the hands and arms are doing to help you enter the roll. In martial arts, oftentimes you'll find people scooping through, like this, or maybe starting on their wrist, creating a half circle, and rolling all the way to hip this way, and even positions like this. In parkour, we have to adapt the roll to the real world of concrete and complex shapes. I've heard more than a few stories of people breaking their collarbones because while threading through the arm, their hand slipped out on a slick surface or they slightly mistimed it. In parkour, we want to use as much muscle as we can between the ground and our head, neck, and spine as possible. So in parkour training, we're going to use the triangle to back method, which works like this. Make a triangle with your hands. Take that triangle and put it at one of your hips. In order to simulate bringing the ground to your upper back, we're going to take that triangle across the front of our chest until we end up in this position here. Notice my outside elbow is popped up. If you can't see, you're doing it wrong. From this position, switch sides and practice bringing the triangle up to the other side. Practice that for just a quick minute until you feel comfortable with that pattern, and then bring it back here for some more details. We're now going to enter the roll from a low squatted position. I want you to imagine yourself inside of a box. Take your triangle and place it in one of the top corners of that box, reaching out to the side. If I'm reaching out to my left, I'm going to be rolling over my right shoulder. Now the roll's going to feel familiar in that you're going to be tucking your chin into your opposite armpit of the shoulder you're rolling on. You're going to be pushing with your feet to initiate the roll. A new thing you're going to have to worry about is guiding the ground to the first contact point on your upper back. Now be aware, the term shoulder roll can be a misnomer. We're not landing on the top of our shoulder, which is dangerous in fact. We're landing on our upper back behind our shoulder. So your new challenge is to guide the ground to that spot, keeping your back round, working both sides for a few minutes until you feel comfortable, and then bring it back here for some more details. Let's now address what the legs are doing. If I'm using the roll to dissipate landing forces, I'm going to want to land feet side by side, taking the impact symmetrically. This is opposed to landing staggered. However, there will be times when you're falling into the roll from this position, so make sure you're practicing both entrances. On the flip side, when I exit the roll, I'm going to have my feet staggered in a very specific way. Notice that rolling over my right shoulder, my right foot is further out in front of me. This is opposed to switching my feet like this, where I can slap my foot on the concrete. This is a less efficient transition. I can get tangled up in this position. I can even trip over my own foot on the way out. So as you exit the roll, make sure whatever shoulder you roll over, that same side leg comes out further in front of you. Go ahead and practice both sides for a few minutes and then come back for some more details. Now that you understand the staggered position on the exit, let's talk about the transition up to your feet. I'm on my hip, one hand on either side of my knee, guiding me up to my feet. Go ahead and add that to your skill set and then move on to the last part of the progression. Lastly, we're gonna go over landing into your roll. The most important thing at this point is making sure this is one smooth transition between landing and roll with no pauses. If at any point I pause, my roll didn't help me dissipate the landing forces. Now before you jump off of an obstacle, you can simulate the landing to roll simply from your tippy toes, absorbing at your own pace until you enter the roll. You can do that a little bit faster and faster until you feel comfortable, and then add a little bit of a hop. Again, jumping a little higher each time, until eventually you jump off of an obstacle. Now please keep in mind that as you jump from higher and higher, the roll comes faster and faster, heightening the risk of striking your shoulder on the ground. So get a lot of repetition at each height. Go ahead and practice this on both sides until you feel satisfied, and then move on to the next technique.